Beth Caldwell is a popular author, publicity expert, and business consultant from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She specializes in working with small business owners and entrepreneurs. She is a 40 Under 40 winner, having been recognized by Pittsburgh Magazine as one of the city's most influential young business leaders. Beth is the founder and executive director of Pittsburgh Professional Women, the largest women's resource organization in Western Pennsylvania. She is the author of I Wish I'd Known That, Secrets to Success in Business, Inspired Entrepreneurs, and Smart Leadership, 12 Simple Strategies to Help You Shift from Ineffective Boss to Brilliant Leader. In March 2011, Beth was honored with a Radical Woman of the Year Award in Washington, D.C. Her passion is to empower and inspire women to achieve their full potential. Learn more about Beth at BethCaldwellTV.com. Crystal Davis is a spiritual leader, mentor, coach, and speaker. She is the creator of the Crystal Clear You Authentic Transformation System, a 7-step transformation process designed to help women that want to inspire others with their brilliance and manifest a lifestyle of balance and bliss. Crystal had a secure career with the U.S. government for more than 17 years. She worked for the Department of Justice, the Department of the Treasury, and eventually was promoted to a leadership position with the FBI. Her position was secure, steady, respectable, and earned her more than 6 figures each year. She was successful, yet unfulfilled. Shocking her family and co-workers, Crystal walked away from a secure and prestigious position to live her passion. She now runs a thriving business helping other women live their passion and has manifested a life for herself that is fun, fulfilling, and fabulous. Please welcome Beth and Crystal for Live Your Passion.
Live Your Passion. As we prepare to give you this amazing transformative content, whenever you're delivering this kind of information, you want to really start off with a story that really embodies and captures the imagination and the passion, inspiration of the audience that you're speaking to. Ultimately, I discovered that there was only one story that would fit that. My favorite teacher, and I believe the greatest teacher that ever lived, was in front of a group of people much like you. And he looked into the crowd, into thousands of faces, and he said, "You are the light of the world. You are the light of the world." Often people misquote that, and they think that he says, "I am the light of the world." It's not what he said. You are the light of the world. And in another place and time, he said, "You can do the same things that I can do, and still more, greater things than I have done." Great philosophers throughout time have questioned that, from Emerson to Thoreau to all the great, truly successful people that have had tremendous impact on us all, have questioned, did he say the truth? Are we each the light of the world, and can you, in fact, achieve anything that you set your minds and your hearts on? Living your passion. As you look at this beautiful DVD cover here that we have created, Live Your Passion, it's very intentional. In fact, that's one of the 5 pillars that we're going to talk to you about this evening. Intention. And this is a perfect example of that. As you move toward a greater, freer, fuller, expanded expression of your light in the world and inspiring others, as I love to say, inspiring others with your brilliance. You see, you create the light at the base of the stair, no matter where you're at. No matter where you're at. This is the beauty. Your past is no indicator of your future unless you choose it to be. In this moment, you can presence that truth and shed a light on a whole new staircase to all the health, wealth, and happiness that you truly desire. And the first thing is, go to the light. In fact, be the light. And as you look at the first step, there is something right now. We're going to get inside of this tonight for you and help you to see the steps. So frame this exploration that we're inviting you into tonight. And as you listen to this, frame your thinking around what is the step that I can take toward what we're calling the portal to success in business and life. You see, you start up, you take the step that is yours to take, and you continue to walk, and you take the step, next step, the next step. And eventually, you get to the portal. What's the portal? I like to call it heaven on earth. We weren't meant to struggle. We were meant to have an abundant life. There is a law of the universe, and you'll hear me talk about that a lot this evening. And the law of the universe, the law of this life, this presence, this power, this beautiful map, road map that has been laid out for all of us. There's a very simple way to live our lives. And it comes down to learning the 5 pillars that we're sharing with you tonight. So question yourself as we take you through this journey from the first step that you're going to take up the spiral, up the staircase toward the life that when you lay your head on your pillow for the last time, you go, I lived the life that I loved, and I have no regrets. No regrets. Sound good?
Great.
Good. So, the first pillar tonight, in living your passion, there's always the first step, right? And that is the desire that you have inside of you, the desire of your heart. Now, desire, what you need to know about desire, we're not talking about an unintentional desire of, I just want to go lay around and do nothing for the rest of my life. No, we're talking about desire that is within you. The desire that comes from someplace inside of you. In fact, the Greek definition of desire is of the Father. Of the Father. You see, whether you call it, this is a warm invitation, whether for you it's universe, some people say universe, some people say God, source, life, whatever it is for you. But the key is that desire inside of you was given to you. You're the one, though, that has to take the step toward living that desire. So, a lot of people, and I talk to different people, my clients, and can get sort of wrapped around thinking, oh, what's my purpose? I just don't know what it is. When you begin to express your desire, your heart's desire, another word for desire is love. So the first question is, what would you love? What would you love? As you know, I left out of a 6-figure job. Why did I do that? It was not easy for me because most people don't do that, right? It's go for the money. But the money and plus the position that I had was not fulfilling for me. So I was driving home one day, and I was actually running my business and doing the day job. And I was driving home one day, and I looked back in the rearview mirror, and I realized part of my life purpose, my life path, is to let go of past, which is not what's satisfying, fulfilling for me, and the day job, and let it go. I didn't know how. Had no idea how I was going to create this thriving business, but I knew what. I knew my heart's desire. And then 6 months after leaving that job, I was still unfulfilled. And what I discovered is that I was following my desire, but I had not yet learned to place myself inside of that desire. I'd always been looking for validation, approval, love from everyone but myself, and for myself. So what that led me to was realizing that living my passion was about doing the work that I love and me being a part of that work. And that part of me was my higher self and really connecting to the source of all that is within me. Those desires were me. It's not just from us a life that's breathing. It is actually breathing us, right? It's something that's real and tangible. And so learning to really value within those desires and follow them. And stand in front of groups just like you, just as you see me tonight, with the clarity. I now have the clarity. And so I'm inviting you to realize that by following the desires of your heart, that you are becoming the crystal clear you that has the clarity that what you think, what you say, and what you do, that you matter. You matter. You are the light of the world. You have to believe that you matter. And that starts with, what do you really want? The clarity is, what do you really want? A vision, a clear picture of what that looks like for you. And then you extend that into your day-to-day life. And one practical tip for you there is, if you are saying, yes, I want to follow my heart's desire, but yet you're scaling a fence, the way we do that and scale that fence is we say, yes, I want the job that fulfills my heart, but I'm going to hold on to the days that are unfulfilling for me. And I'm going to keep asking others to love me because I'm not going to love myself first. You see, it's a yes and decision that you have to make, and that I made. That this invitation to follow your heart's desire is, yes, I'm living my passion, and I am taking the steps upward to following that desire. Because you can feel the desire, but if you don't follow it, you don't get anywhere. You don't move onward up the staircase. But more on that. The key point is, become the crystal clear you that has the clarity of what you want, what you truly want, that's based on your heart's desire.
Thank you. Great. So pillar number 1 is desire. Pillar number 1 to living your passion is desire. And often when I sit across the table from women, they say to me, what's my purpose? And I used to tell people what their purpose was. That's not my purpose, you guys. I had to learn, it's not my job to tell people what their purpose is. And eventually, as I began to have my own personal growth and more experience, I can honestly tell people, I don't know what your purpose is. Only you know what your divine purpose is. But I can tell you what I know. I know that if you're not living your purpose, it's going to be uncomfortable. I know that in my life, when I wasn't living my purpose, when I was living for what I thought I should do, what my parents wanted me to do, what my spouse wanted me to do, what the world said you should do, when I was living that, I was not happy. It wasn't easy. It wasn't... Life was good. I was successful. I had a great job. I had a beautiful family. I had a good-looking husband. He wasn't a nice guy, but he was good-looking, and that's important, isn't it, in success? Right? Okay, so from the outside, I had what should be happy, what was you were supposed to have, and it wasn't happy. And when I say it wasn't easy, easy, looked good, didn't feel right. And I lived like that for most of my 20s and 30s. Life was good, I was successful, but it wasn't easy. It seemed like everything was difficult. It seemed like I did everything the hard way. So I can't tell you what your purpose is, but what I can tell you is that when you're living in your purpose, it's effortless. You're happy. You're effortlessly happy in your job, in your relationships, and in your life. So think about what makes you happy. Think about what you're drawn to do if you don't know your purpose. We're going to talk, this is only pillar 1. And boy, wouldn't it be nice if we could flip a switch? And you could say, okay, I know my purpose, now I'm going to do it. There's a transitional period, right? And some of us get stuck in that for a while. It's, we're talking about spirituality and heart as well as life and business success. It's smart business to be in the business of your desire. So that's what I know about desire. Think about, for me, I was going to say, think about what makes you happy. Think about what you think you were born to do. Because I didn't wake up one day and say, you know what, it's my purpose to lead women, to be a speaker, to be a writer. I didn't wake up one day and say that. But when I woke up one day and said, I can't go into work another day. I can't be in this house another day. I can't be in this social situation another day. That's how I woke up. And then as I began to change what I was doing and got instant rewards, instant happiness, instant ease, I then started to continue to do what was coming naturally and what was easy. And as I became more into my purpose, I started to remember that when I was a little girl, I used to sit, I'm the oldest in my family, and I'm 7 years older than my brother and 8 years older than my sister. And I just shared this story yesterday, and it's fresh on my mind, but for fun, after school, I would write books. And so I'm 45 years old. This was in the 1970s, early 1970s, and we didn't have staples in our house. Nobody had a stapler in their house in 1971 or 60. You didn't have that. My mother used to take her, put her needle and make a hole and then tie a piece of yarn through my books. I wrote books all the time when I was a little girl. This was before I could write. This is when I was a little girl, right? And then as I got older and I could read, I would rip magazine articles out of my mother's Family Circle magazine at Women's Guide, Women's Day magazine, and put them in files. We had a friend that worked in an office, and one day she cleaned out her office. To me, office supplies were a tremendous gift. Other people were playing with dolls and dressing up, and I was setting up an office in my closet. I cleared off a shelf. And I would have the little girls in the neighborhood come over in the summertime. We didn't have Girl Scout meetings in the summertime because we lived in the country, so we couldn't have them in the school. So I'd have these little meetings, and I'd pass out my articles that I pulled out of Family Circle all winter long, give everybody assignments on what things that they could do. I taught people how to decorate cakes, So how did I wind up then at 27 working as a social worker in an office, doing difficult things all day long, working in difficult situations? I was doing good things in the world, but I wasn't doing what my purpose was, which was to gather women, have nice stapled papers, and that's really what my purpose was. It was what I loved from a young child. I told my mother that I was going to write books in 1969, and she said, I'm sure you will. And I told my mom in 1971 that I was going to be on television, and she said, I'm sure you will. And when I was in 4th grade, I said, I think I'm going to do a magazine. And she said, I know you're going to do a magazine. So these are all things that were my love from when I was very, very young. So as you begin to step into your purpose, you're going to begin to remember your joy. So that is pillar number 1, which is desire. Crystal?
Thank you. Pillar number 2, authenticity. Your personal growth, right? Because the life that you've been living up until now, there's some really great things about it, right? There's some things that you'd like to change. How do I know that? You're alive. Every single one of us has something that we would love to do differently, to have more of. In fact, fundamentally, the fundamental law of life is growth. It's not only something that you have this, remember, this desire within you for. Yeah, it's because your natural state of being is growth. In fact, a hard point is that you're either growing or you're dying. Your business is it's the same thing, whether we're talking about personally, of course we're talking about that spiritually, we're talking about that business, and personally. So your business will only grow as much as you're willing to grow as a person. Your authenticity is, so we're talking about live your passion. Live your passion, that greater expression. Again, take the step that you can take today to express what your passion is. I love my dog. Getting up and taking her and just giving her a hug. She's the cutest little, like a little teddy bear. Sweetest dog, 15 years old. And, right, there are things in our lives that we feel good when we do. Choose those things. So that we are growing and toward the things that we really do love. The second C of the crystal clear you, and there are 4 of them, by the way. The crystal clear you has a calm mind. A calm mind. James Allen, in a famous classic, it's called As a Man Thinketh, so As a Woman Thinketh. Calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. Calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. So, talking about being in the FBI, I remember sitting in meetings and hearing people, and just kind of observing it, hearing people talk about how busy they were. And then there would be this comparison of, well, I'm busy, but man, she's really busy. How do they get everything done that they get done and they're so busy? And it was like this desire to be busy, more so than to have calmness of mind. If there is this presence, this power, this life, that's breathing you, this energy of this universe, right? For those of you that call it God, do you think you're connecting with that source when you're busy? Calmness of mind is the beautiful jewel of wisdom, because when we step into that space of simply taking a deep breath, the ways that we can accomplish what it is that we want to accomplish become simpler, actually quicker. So you actually calm down to speed up. It's not speed up to calm down, right? At least that's never worked for me. And so I want to give you a practical example of that. When I was just learning to speak, I joined a club called Toastmasters. And so I got in front of the audience, I had my content, and not only is there a timer, they're monitoring every word you say so that you don't have this filler language of and ahs. And I'm getting better at that, but you're probably still hearing me do some of that. But when you're first starting to speak, and starting anything actually, but speaking is a really great example of it, your mind is not focused. You're endeavoring to deliver your content. Pay attention to how much time you have. Make sure that you're not saying and really make an impact on your audience. All these different things at the same time. I'm sure there was more things. And at first time out the gate, again, your mind is all over the place, right? And then the more you do it, what you experience is your mind starts to focus. It narrows, and you start to hear the ums, cut that out, pay attention, stay within your time, deliver fantastic content, really touch the place that you wanted to with your audience, and multiple things are happening at the same time. You've calmed down to speed up, right? When we're worried, doubt, and fear, the mind gets lost. We get lost, right? Your authenticity is not showing up. One thing I know about this lady here, Beth Caldwell, is she's very authentic. And one of the reasons she's authentic is she's very present for each person that she speaks to. And that means she has a calm mind. Calm mind. She gets a lot done, but she's calm as she's doing it. She's a great example of that. So, the crystal clear you, right? Calm down. Be calm. And you'll experience more of your authentic, the authentic you, as a part of the crystal clear you.
Thank you. You know, that's one of the best lessons that I ever learned from Crystal was slow down to speed up. And you just gave me a great compliment. But I have to work, this might surprise you, I have to work really hard to slow down. I have to work hard to be present. I've not always been present.
Absolutely.
But what has happened is over the years is when I'm present in a situation, it's a better situation. It's a more rewarding situation. I'd say maybe probably 3 or 4 years ago, I had this aha moment that when I would leave my computer, my desk, my office, I would have really good ideas. I was really good at being really busy at my desk, right? Aren't all of us? Can't we be really busy? But I never had, my fabulous breakthrough ideas always came when I left the office. And so when I became more aware of this, I started paying attention and saying, gee, that's so much more positive. Instead of being this frantic, busy, crazy super mom, right, that I was really busy being at that time. So when I noticed these things happening, I'm naturally authentic. I'm a very much what you see is what you get type of person. That part is easy for me. But the slowing down is something that I still have to work on and be very intentional about. So we talked about desire. Now we're talking about authenticity. When I work with women, whether they're trying to find out what their passion is, or if I'm sitting with someone helping them create a marketing plan, it's the same question that I ask. What do you do better than anybody else in the world? And here's how I learned this. There are things that I can do really well. Just like you, I have things I'm really good at and things I'm not so good at. I learned a long time ago to focus on what I'm good at and quit paying attention to the things I'm not good at, right? So there's a lot of things that come easily to me. For example, I can write a really great press release. I'm really good at that. I can write a really good bio. I can come up with ideas for a press release. Those are things that I'm good at and that I can do, but those are things that a lot of people can do, besides me. Where my real gift lies is doing strategy sessions one-on-one with people to determine what their gifts are in business and to help them to create a marketing plan around that. It took me a couple of years to step into the confidence of that. That's what I love to do the most. That's what I get paid the highest amount of money for. And about 2 years ago, I took a look at my calendar and I found out that 80% of the time I was writing press releases, writing bios, writing email newsletters, writing website content, and maybe once a month I was doing a strategy session, my favorite thing to do. And so I became, that was inauthentic. I wasn't terribly unhappy. I didn't have problems getting out of bed. I really like writing press releases, but it was tedious work and it wasn't great paying work, and so I was struggling a little bit, having to do more of that than I really had time for. So it was a little bit inauthentic in that I wasn't really stepping into my biggest gift, which was the strategy sessions. I keep bringing the word intentional, and we're going to talk about intention soon, but I had to be, in order for me to be authentic, I had to do two things. I had to intentionally make sure I was doing the one thing that I do in the world that nobody else can do as good as me. And we all have a gift like that. Okay. Some of us find it when we're 18. Some of us lucky ones. Some of us, are still struggling to find it. But it's just magic when you do find that one gift. And by the way, that's not your gift for your whole life. Because we grow constantly, right? Okay. The other thing that is, this might surprise you. This might really surprise you. To be authentic, you have to delegate. This is one of my smart business tips. If you really want to be authentically who you were meant to be, should you really be doing the bookkeeping? Should you really be doing the laundry? Should you really be doing anything that you don't want to do. We all have different things that we want to do. You know, some women like to sew their family's clothes. They enjoy doing that. Some people do it because, you know, they've been doing it forever. My gifts are not domestic. I can cook. You know, we will not starve if Beth has to cook. But it's not my favorite thing to do unless I'm on vacation and not working, and then I really enjoy cooking. But cooking and cleaning and kind of managing the house, it's not where my gifts lie, but I can run a business. So I had to, in my late 20s and 30s, had to really say, you know what, Beth, that isn't where your gifts are. But guess what? My neighbor down the street, she works a full-time job, and she loves her job. She's a CPA. This woman loves to clean. Like, it's fun for her to get into your steps and the carpeting your steps, like where the dust gets. Like, she thinks that's really relaxing and fun. And if I pay her $50, she is so happy to do that. And so that is a way that I can be more authentic. So if you find in your life that you're doing something that you really don't like to do and you really don't need to do it, I promise you there's somebody in the world that likes to do that can take that job off of your hands. Okay, it may be at your marketing. Maybe you hate to do your marketing. Maybe that's not what you like to do. For me, it would be taxes and bookkeeping. Okay, those type of things. Somebody really likes that. That's their gift. That's what, you know, tax people, very compliant people, their job is to keep you out of jail. They're to keep you out of the art. They love what they do, so let them do it. We shouldn't be struggling. If it doesn't come easy to you, that isn't really where you should be spending your time and your gifts. So I want you to think about where you shine the most. That's where your authenticity arrow is sending you. Those signs are coming down because it's great. So number one, it's smart business to follow your desire. And number two, it's smart business to honor your authenticity. Honor your authenticity.
And a bonus tip, you will get paid more inside of your authenticity. Yeah. Desire, it just funnels into this. Beautiful, right? We know that Oprah Winfrey is doing what she loves. True? So, we're to intention. The third pillar is intention. Now, intention is the bath of the desire. Because, you know, having a desire that client after client I can tell you about who is, they're putting themselves out there. Let's say it's networking. That's one of the things that as entrepreneurs we have difficulty getting over, right? Where we have to go out and talk to people about our business, right? Certainly in the first 3 years of our businesses, that is the thing that we're thinking, oh, we don't want to do that. And intention, you see, will save you and help you to get out there in an authentic way to feeding your desire. But you have to be clear about it, right? And you get this clear, you get a clear, calm, right? We talked about clearness and calmness. Now we're at confidence. When you have an intention back of your desire, then you will build your confidence in that area. You see, let me start with networking, right? If you're going out there to network and you say, I love to serve, for me, I love to serve spiritually conscious women in business that are ready to step out and make a big impact on the world. Inspire others with their brilliance and have a life of balance and bliss. Right? If I go out there with that intention, giving that, do you think that's resonant? If I'm going out saying, gee, the checkbook's kind of low, really need to fill that checkbook. Right? The intention is, I don't have the money. Will you please purchase something from me? Right? It's very low quality. Very low quality. I want you to do one thing tonight. And that's fall in love with the idea that you can have anything you want if you align to the laws of the universe. Many of us, we have no idea they're there. And so we going through life and we're not clear, we're not confident, we're not clear, we're not calm, we're not confident because we think it's random. Things are happening to us. Okay? When you believe in these laws, then you connect to them, your following your desire, you're authentically you, getting more and more toward what you would love, and you're just giving. Giving. A law of the universe is the law of receiving. In order to receive, we must first give. That's why we can't look at our checking accounts and say, gee, it's kind of low. Will somebody give me some money? Right? But if we think, what can I give? And focus on the intention of, I am serving. I'm giving of my talents, my gifts into the world. How may I help you? How may I serve you? Servant leadership. Beautiful. And so you gain confidence in these laws. The law of receiving, give to receive. You gain confidence when you practice them. But first you have to practice them. Remember, you have to take the first step. That's what I did when I left my job. Took the first step to believing that there is one, I'm going to add to it here, there is one source of everything. That's actually what helped me to walk out the door. I realized I had to really learn it because I was really shaky when I stepped out. I didn't really believe it. And I thought, oh, okay, really? You mean we live the law of abundance. We live in an abundant universe. You can have anything you want. But first you must believe that you already have. You see, there's no getting because I already am. When you're going into a networking situation and you think, I've got to get a sale, or I've got to get more leads, it's essentially saying to the universe, who is always is with you. It's always with you. It's ever present. It's omnipresent. It's always listening to your thoughts. And when you're communicating, I don't have it, well, you'll just keep not having it. But when you give in the spirit of I am the woman who is a brilliant leader, who has so many, these gifts, these special, unique gifts that are mine, that I can give, and I must express that. From that place, from your abundant intention of giving of that, then you receive. Give in order to receive. So that's really the key to sales. It doesn't matter whether you are just starting your business. You can just start your business. Confidence is what sells, right? You walk in and you say, please purchase from me. You're probably not going to be perceived as very confident, right? Or there's some people out there saying, here, you really need this, right? And I don't know, it's probably all over the place. I know it was all over the place. That's why it wasn't working for the first several months of my business. Until I learned to really trust and release and believe and set my intention first. And not only believe it, but practice it. Because we have to practice it in order to experience the abundance that is your birthright. You can experience it when you step out in that faith. So taking even that first step will just take you, as we said before, further up the staircase to believing that anything you want, you've got to be of it. Set your intention. Be authentic. Set your desire. Back of the desire, the intention. Be authentic in that, right? Because you are that person. You're that woman. So, practical tip, go out there. Stay curious, but give. Give to those that are your ideal clients. They have the money because they have what you're giving. They want it. Come from that mindset, then it comes to you. It's a ease and grace. There's no getting. You already have. That is very attractive. And another flip of that, force negates, is another thing I'm saying here. Force negates. We think the fact that we're out there talking to people they're just going to, and I know I had that thought, okay, they're just going to love it and they're just going to follow, right? But there was a forcing mentality. We're not taught to be. We're not, first of all, taught to love sales. We're taught to force sales. But when we allow and make welcome, by standing in our power of our brilliance and being confident that we do have so much to give the world, you are the light of the world, then, it literally, I've experienced this all the time. I shift a belief inside of me. My intention is my belief about what is going to happen. Henry Ford said, either you believe you can or you believe you can't. Whether you believe you can, you will. If you believe you can't, you won't. Set your intention. Be very confident in that intention, based on your desires, based on what is authentically you. And the crystal clear you shows up as this confident, brilliant woman who's on a mission to make the impact that you truly want to make.
Great. Okay, so we're talking about intention. And here's what I know about intention. When you have a purpose, you have to be intentional. It's like I said before, I wish that we could just say, oh, I discovered my purpose, and now I flip a switch, and everything in life is now changed. And now I'm just going to live in my purpose and happy, and we're all just going to sing and braid each other's hair and be happy. Kumbaya, right? I know that's not true. Here's the thing about being intentional. When you discover your purpose and you make a decision, this is what I'm going to do now. Just like when I made my decision that I was going to switch from doing everything I could do to focusing on the things I do really well. That was hard work. I had to be very intentional because I was very tempted to still say yes to, can you write my website? Can you volunteer? Can you have a fundraiser? Can you come and visit? Can you, can you? I wanted to say yes. But I had to remind myself, sometimes several times a day, what my intention was. And I actually, here's a tip for you guys. Some of you might have heard me say this before. I actually wrote this on my calendar, strategy sessions. Some of these laws that Crystal has taught about, spiritual laws, I was never taught them, but they come naturally to me. And so I've never talked about don't do this, don't do that. I never said put on my calendar, don't write press releases, don't take any more new clients of that. But more, I just put what I wanted more of, what I wanted to focus on. Because I use an electronic calendar and that's where my attention was every day. Okay, I also put little things up in my house, in my bedroom, in my bathroom. I put little signs up to train my brain to rethink, to remind myself what my intention is. Because here's what I know. When you set a goal, it's like the universe says, are you sure? Are you sure? I was taught once in church that whenever you decide that you're going to do something, that Satan will immediately test you and try to get you away from it. And that if you get a test like that, that's a good sign that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And if you go right through that, then it gets easier. But there's almost like a resistance immediately. Are you really sure you want to do that? And so for me, being consciously intentional about whatever it was that I want to not get rid of, but what I want to work towards has really helped me. Now, I've always been a natural giver. And giving sometimes can have a negative connotation. It's never been negative to me. I've never been allowed myself to be exploited or anything, but I'm a natural resource person. I'm a resourceful person naturally, and I'm a naturally helpful person. And in business, that has benefited me greatly. I don't give away, well, I have had to work on this, but I naturally give tips where other people want to charge just to have a conversation. And so because I am naturally helpful to a point, to a respectable point, self-respected point, because I give resources and support, I get invited to do really cool things, like be a contributing writer to the newspaper, because they know they can count on me, because over the years I was helpful with that and resourceful for them. There was an here's another one. When I have witnessed people starting into business right away saying, oh, they are going to have to pay for that. Well, you can't just start out charging at the top of the level, and I've watched people struggle and eventually not succeed in business because they have this mindset that it's not right to give. You have to give a little bit. I think all of you have experienced this, that if it feels right, that you need to give a little bit. So figure out where you can be a resource. You know, I'm going to tell you, when I was in 6th grade, my teacher, Mrs. Holfer, she didn't like me very much because I talked in class all the time. I couldn't help it, she was a dull teacher, right? But I was really more social. And so she said to me, she wrote a note to my mother on graduation day, 6th grade, and she said, I predict that one day Beth will own her own dating agency. And that was in like 1978, when that was really not a very nice compliment. And I thought about that. Don't you always remember the nasty things your teacher said to you, but we don't ever remember the nice things. But I thought about that a few years ago, and I thought, well, you know, Mrs. Hofer was right. I now have a dating service here for business people. I'm always connecting people, right? So that was she saw my gift. Look at that. So being a natural giver and a resource person is that law. And it really works. It really works. So 2 things there. You definitely want to give. Don't hide your light. Don't hide your gift. But remind yourself to be very intentional, or you will get off track. So intention is a good thing. So we talked about it's smart business to follow your desire. Where's my other thing? Authentic. It's smart business to honor your authenticity. Now I'm going to add, it's smart business to respect intention. You want to respect intention.
Very good. Yeah, definitely. And as a side note, for those of you here, I'm sure you can edit this out, but that's why I wanted to work with Beth, because she is such a, maybe you don't want to edit this out, natural at these laws, at embodying that. I love my business because I can give anything I want to give, right? And it's very natural, and so that's a good relationship there. So number 4, the 4th pillar, is flow, which is a perfect segue from what Beth was just talking about. You know, you don't just arrive at the portal and you live in the portal. You know, it doesn't happen that way. You don't just arrive there. You need to stay in the flow. What is flow? There are 2 streams to life. There's the positive and the negative. By the nature of your thinking, you're either positive, optimistic, or negative, pessimistic. Okay. So, and you're always, literally picture the river in my head. Can you picture that? Where you're standing there, and sometimes you feel like you're not getting knocked over, because you're the one that can stand in the positive. Oop, negative thought comes in. Over, right? It happens. And usually it's in the form of a worry, a doubt, or a fear. No, I don't believe that. Back to the positive, back and forth, flow. So have you seen, I was so impressed with Nick Walinda and the walk across the Grand Canyon. And so this amazing aerialist, I guess he's probably, I think he was like in his early 40s or something. So he's been doing this whole family of aerialists. Walked across the tightrope of a portion of the Grand Canyon, right? Very impressive. I loved how he continued to express his faith as he did this walk. And I think in different ways, we're all doing our own tightrope walk. I don't know what year this is, but a fellow named Zumbrati, hopefully I'm saying that right, Zumbrati, did a very similar tightrope walk across the Niagara Falls. And there was lots of wind, as I think there even was at the Grand Canyon, lots of wind, and he makes it across and relieved and all the accolades. And a man is there with a wheelbarrow. And he comes up to Zumbrati and he says to him, wow, you're just amazing. You're so amazing. I believe you can take this wheelbarrow and you can go across that tightrope with the wheelbarrow. And the guy Zimbrati looks at him, wow, no, I don't really think it was really hard, lots of wind, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. And the guy continues, he says, no, you're really that great, here, take the wheelbarrow, go across. And finally he said, well, you really believe in me that much? And the guy with the wheelbarrow goes, yeah, I really do. And Zimbrati looks at him and says, good, get in the wheelbarrow. Let's go. Let's get on. So if you really believe, you have, the fourth C is conviction. Conviction. In order to be in this flow, and this is really how you can stand in your power. When you have a conviction in something, you're getting in the wheelbarrow. Right? You're fully invested. You're not just going to say, it's really great. There are 1,000 people down the road. I really want you to go speak in front of them. Really, you're that great. Great, go do it, right? Yeah, but if I'm not willing to do it, and I'm asking somebody else to do it, and actually it even brings home another point. The desire is within you. Don't let anybody tell you what your desire is and what you should be doing. How many people grow up in families, Daddy was the doctor, you should go be a doctor as well, right? It's a major reason, client after client, that a lot of them that I talk to says, well, I never really followed my passion. My dad really thought I should be an attorney. It was what I thought I had to do, what I should do. Key point. Your desire is what would I love. It's a divine purpose. It's passion for something. You're following that. Would you agree it's much more important to follow your purpose that you were sent here for? The Persian poet from the 13th century named Rumi, and great quote, he said, it's as if a king has sent you and me into a far and distant land with one thing to accomplish. You could accomplish everything else, but if you fail to accomplish this one thing, it's as if you've accomplished nothing. What is that one thing? That's your purpose. It's the expression of you. Again, don't let purpose scare you. It's simply the expression of you. And so the crystal clear you has belief that your desires matter, you're authentic, you have an intention, a belief that what you have to give matters, and that you then stand in that conviction in the flow of life, and you move toward that every day, throughout your day. Because I agree, it's not something you arrive to, but it is something that you can stay in the flow with.
Right. So you just said this, I'll repeat it. We're talking about the 5 pillars. We talked about desire, authenticity, intention, and flow is what we're talking about now. And this is a relatively new, I understand flow, and you probably do too, but it's a new word, so I didn't know about this concept or this law before until very recently. But how I recognize it is that's when you're in love with life, when everything is as it should be. Have you had times in your life or your business like that, when you're in love, and if you have kids, all the kids are happy and nobody's in a conflict at the time, and things are good in your career, things are good in your spiritual life, things are good in your personal life, and that's flow. And that's when things are when things are good, but that is the way life is supposed to be all the time. Here's something that I've struggled with. When I get myself all in order, and I have my desire, and I have my intention, and everything's working, and everybody's happy, and the kids are happy, and the house is happy, and the dog's happy, and everybody else is happy, I then start to watch for what's going to happen. Have you ever done that?
Yes.
This is a big thing that I struggle with. And I start to get, when things are, what I would say excellent, I won't say perfect, I'll say when things are excellent, I begin to start going, okay, what's happening? Let me get ready. Let me stockpile, better put some money in the savings account. Something's coming, right? This is not living with intention and living in other things that we're going to talk about. This is a habit that I've created over the years. And when you work with me one-on-one, we talk about awake, aware, align. And this is something that I catch myself doing. So good thing to do when you're in flow. Recognize it, appreciate it, honor it. Bad thing to do is wonder what's bad's going to happen. That's a common thing though, isn't it? Because I noticed a lot of you shook your heads when you did that. But we talked, when we invited you to this class, we talked about becoming your own leading lady. To be the leading lady in your life or your business. One of the things that I've learned from Crystal, and I might not say this exactly the way you say it, but I wrote this down more than a year ago. You said this at an event, and she talked about what are you doing versus who are you being. How is it that you say that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you say it?
Yep.
And I was like, hold on a minute, I have to write that down. Are you too busy doing that you have no time to be? I wrote that down, and I thought about that for a long, long time. And I went back to that thought that I had earlier in my life about, gee, isn't it interesting? I never have a brilliant idea in front of my computer when I'm doing. And all these big things happen to me when I'm being. Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting how that happens? And so when you're in flow, you can be more easily. Exactly. Does that sound right? So I want to just take a little step back because I want to just backpedal a little bit. When we talk about attracting people to our business, because I said we want you to be the leading lady of your life and business. And one of the other things that I know that some of us struggle with is that sales that Crystal was talking about. And for some of us, sales comes naturally and easily. And for those of us who struggle with that, particularly I see that happens with healing people who are healing professionals. They often struggle with, and you can be a real estate or be in a healing profession, right? It's really who you are, not necessarily what you do. One of the things you need to focus on is that serving, and how do I help you, and what are the problems that you fix, okay? So when I work, and I did this twice yesterday with 2 different clients, well, what do I tell them I do? Don't tell them what you do because they don't want to hear about you. Everybody's thinking about their problems. When a person meets a financial person, and the person says, hi, I'm a financial advisor. They were like, oh my gosh, I'm not talking to her because she's going to know that my kid's 16 years old and I have nothing in the savings account for college. And the financial person is thinking, well, like, am I not wearing the right clothes? Or did I not say it the right way? Or nobody wants to talk to me. But you see, it's not about you. So it doesn't matter. That's an easy example because I think everybody can identify with that, right? I talked to somebody yesterday who specializes in healthy living and diet and weight loss. And she said, how do I tell somebody I really can help you lose weight? That's a little bit rude, right? So we say, no, you don't talk about that because we're not going to talk about you. You talk about the problems that you fix. You know, I help women or I help people who are tired and stressed out and exhausted. Well, like, oh, you can help me? You see how that just one little shift can turn. And that is a part of the flow because when you find that magic button, no matter what the problem is you fixed, I picked 2 very easy to demonstrate things because we were always critical of ourselves and always thinking about what we can improve in ourselves. But let's just imagine this was a hairdresser, okay? Or a makeup artist. Or even in my case, a publicist. Nobody ever runs from a publicist. Nobody ever says, oh, I don't want to talk to you because I'm going to have to tell you that I don't have any money in my bank account. Like, they don't run from people like that because you're like, oh, she can really help me. She can really fix this. You see, so remember that everybody in your business part, everybody is thinking about them and their problems. They're not thinking about, they're really not. Do you believe me? Do you agree? Mm-hmm. They're really not thinking about or judging you. We're always judging ourselves, I think. Okay, let me get back on track again. It really is my intention, and this is my gift. My purpose is my intention is that each and every woman that I touch is able to embrace and live her purpose. And so when I create that as my intention, I remind myself of that as my intention, I'm in flow. And things really work well for me when I keep that flow going. And boy, I really do wish it could be a permanent thing, but I have to keep working on it. So, Okay, so we talked about follow your desire. It's smart business to follow your desire. It's smart business to honor your authenticity. It's smart business to respect intention. It's smart business to appreciate flow. Recognize it and appreciate it.
Absolutely. You know, I stay on flow for a second. I had a air conditioning. Well, the basement flooded, and the air conditioner went off. And then I learned that the hot water heater was then the water. So I learned about the air conditioner first, but then the water, you know, because it wasn't as hot, so I wasn't really worried about the air conditioner until I hit it 90s, and then I started getting more hot water. I was worried about, right, because I want to take a shower. And but so what I realized inside of my head, what happened was air conditioner. Okay. Hot water. You know, the common statement that then came up in my head, and I didn't even realize it was still a belief was in my head, which is, it's not one thing, it's another. Right? We all have these viruses. It's a virus, by the way. It's a virus. It's not even real. It's not one thing, it's another. Then it resonated with what you were saying about things are doing great and there needs to be a problem. The virus is, I don't watch the news. I don't spend a lot of time with negative people. Why? Because the virus is, what's the problem? Let's figure out what the problem is, and then let's kill it. Let's just keep concentrating on it until we figure out all these different ways about how we can deal with the problem. But we never focus on the solution, right? So true flow is solution. By the way, there is perfection within you, and that perfection is this power, this presence. You always have access to that perfection. Not if you're saying, what's next? What's the next thing that's going to happen? It's, oh, curious, that's interesting. Let me keep focused on what I do want. What's my desire? What's my authenticity? Where am I going? What's my intention? Get back into the flow. These are the little pieces that shift us over here. And a split, it's one thought. And you're back in the negative. That's how subtle it is. Perfect segue for this pillar. It's praise. Praise. It's not just praise for what you have. It's praise for what you want and don't yet have. I was reading a book recently, and it talked about Thanksgiving, how in the United States, how we go to the Thanksgiving holiday and we're grateful for the past. All the things, all the blessings from the past. That's wonderful. And what's truly evolutionary and where your growth is found is saying, all of you know this to have vision statements. I am so happy and grateful now that I have the six-figure business. I have the man of my dreams. I have relationships with these amazing dynamic women who are my greatest friends, and just build that vision of that life that you love, but you have to praise it when you don't see it. Think about the focus when you're in the flow of the positive. You're moving in praise toward the thing that you want. And you're in the flow of the negative, you're moving without praise toward the thing that you don't want. We think more about what we don't want than what we do want. So praise, love this quote. This is a quote from a book that I teach my students on, which is Working with the Law by Raymond Holliwell. He says that praise is faith in action. That's why it's evolutionary. Transformative. When you can praise the low balance in your checking account and say, that's interesting. And I'm praising that I know that the money is going to flow. I'm praising that I know that at the right time, key point, I'm exactly where I need to be. And I'm taking the step that I can take from where I'm at and the direction of my dream. And that is enough in this moment. Staying in the flow means that you're continuing to praise your faith in action. That's real faith, because it's in the absence of not seeing it in your physical world. There are 3 levels in this world. You are a spiritual being in a physical body. You have a mental capacity, creative capacity mentally, and then you have a physical body. The highest form of you is your spirit. It is control of everything when you believe. By praising it in the absence of evidence. Remember, there's source of everything. Like the FBI wasn't really paying me. I received that opportunity and that income, those blessings from one source, as do you. The bonus, Crystal Clear You, number 5, is celebrating the uniqueness in yourself and in others. This is why it's important to realize that there is perfection in, as spiritual beings, you're connected to this life, this energy, this source that is perfect. You have moments of being connected to that, and you show up in your brilliance when you truly do connect and live your passion. You see that? You have moments of beautiful clarity where you are on fire, and it's when you're praising others, celebrating others. It's important to remember that they do have the same, the U.S. Constitution, right? We're all created equal. This is what it means. Everyone has the potential to achieve the same level of success. Different in that you are special. You are as unique as your thumbprint. The same in that the abundance is yours. You can have it when you praise the good that you see and what you don't see. Knowing, in the absence of evidence, the very thing that you want is on its way to you. Talk about calm, confident conviction. Stand in that. That's truly the manifestation process. That's when, you see, the source of life doesn't need to change. It is perfect. We, as we follow our heart's desires, become authentically more who we are meant to be, set our intentions based on being true to these laws of the universe, and then flow, we align to it, to that perfection. And then it feeds us everything we need. But first, we have to praise that that's the truth. If you want to experience lack and limitation, keep focused on the problem. If you want to experience abundance, focus on that. These are the secrets. It all has to do with your creative ability through your thinking. So finally, the crystal, as far as the crystal clear you goes, the crystal clear you has a clarity that what you think, say, and do matters. Then you stand in a calm, confident conviction while celebrating yourself and all others. I realize we're all going to keep growing up this staircase into the spiral. You're here to grow and learn. But that is the image of the vision that we're here to grow toward.
Great, great, great. Okay, so we are talking about praise, our 5th pillar. Our pillars are desire, authenticity, intention, flow, and praise. And people say this comment to me all the time. I kept getting this message, and I thought I better pay attention to it. And this was the message that I would get all the time. Well, sure, I would say that this would be the situation. I would look at somebody and I would say, this is what you need to do. This is who you need to be. This is what your gift. and this is what you should do, and this is where I want you, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to get you going. And people would look at me and they would say, all the time, I was getting this all the time. Well, of course I could do that, Beth. If I was you, I could do that. I can't do that. You could do that. And I kept hearing that over and over again. And it was a real source of frustration for me. And I started to think, well, what is so different about me? I'm not different. I would be looking at this beautiful, gifted, talented woman, and she says, I can't do that. You can do it, but I could never do that. What was it that was different about me? Do you know what's really interesting? I gave this a lot of thought for a long time. And what's different about me is that I have a natural optimism. I have a natural sense of praise. I have a natural way of always looking at the best. And this is essentially what you've been saying. So, when I had children, a couple things happened when I had children. I had to put them in school. That was more traumatic than me going to school, okay? The first thing that happened was my youngest son had some developmental issues, some serious medical problems, some serious school issues. And so I found myself often sitting in front of teachers that frightened me, that people's futures were in their hands. And I would say often to teachers and psychologists and medical doctors, many times over many years, I would say, let me tell you something. People will become exactly what you expect of them. I guarantee it. If you take a 2-year-old child and you say, this child will never speak, this child will never behave, that child will never speak or behave. But if you always expect the best, which is something that doctors and psychologists and teachers and principals found very irritating about me. But this is what I know. That if I expect this child to grow up and play baseball and graduate from high school and go to college and have a girlfriend and drive a car, which is what he did today. If you expect that, that's exactly what will happen. So, that is the only thing that's different about me is my perspective. And so what's different about me is my genuine and natural appreciation and my ease of seeing the good things. And so I ask you about praise in your life, and what can you see and what miracles can you expect? Okay. Praise is a natural way of being. For me, it keeps you in flow. And it's something that I wish for all of you to remember about yourselves. And when someone says to me, I could do that well, see, that doesn't happen anymore because I no longer tell people what to do. I know, I try not to anyway. But I ask them what they think their gifts are and let God tell that to them, right? And then let them take it a step at a time. I also, that's not the only thing that's different in me. I also move at the speed of light, don't I? I move really, really fast, and so not everybody can do things as quickly as I can. But I've got a lot to do, ladies, so there's a reason for that. Okay. So, I want you to embrace praise. So we talked about following your desire, honoring your authenticity, respecting intention, appreciating flow. I want to talk to you about flow for a second, so pull back the flow here. Paul once said to me, you know how you with your people you love the most, you'll have the nastiest fights with? He said to me one time, he said, I was just, something's wrong. I don't know what's wrong. I'm so worried. And he said, do you know what's wrong? Do you want to know what's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong. And that's what's wrong with you. And so that was a big lesson for me that began to go, you're right, there's nothing wrong. Wait a minute, I can relax and enjoy this. Because you know what? When my son was young, everything was wrong for a long time. And so I got used to things being wrong. I got used to conflict and things being difficult. And then when things became easy, when I stepped out of that world, it was a little uncomfortable. So the last thing is to embrace praise. And circle that and underline that one because it's a really important one. And What I'm about to tell you is very, very important. So please, please write this down and remember it. You are the light of the world. So please live your passion. Thank you for coming.